Flakey, I'm happy to have in studio. This time, talking a little bit more about him. We focus a lot on the Port of Shelton during Port of Call with Commissioner Dick Taylor. He's in today, though, to talk about some of his past exploits that have recently been exposed. Makes it sound a lot worse.
Yeah,
really
this is not in the same vein as Anthony Weiner.
I don't think, did you get prepped for this interview? I think I may be coming at you hard. No, we're talking about something that you did when you were with the Navy many years ago. It was a classified mission that is going to be documented this weekend on CNN. Is that right?
That's right.
Oh my gosh, Dick. All right, well, tell me a little bit about the history of you and how this got involved and the classification of this project.
Well, the whole thing started, this was an operation with the Bathyscaphe Trieste, which is the world's deepest diving vehicle.
Okay.
And what happened was, back in 1971, a satellite program, a U.S. satellite program was started called Hexagon. And what it was a big satellite. It was the size of a school bus.
Wow.
It was a camera satellite. In those days, we didn't have live transmission back from space as we do now.
Uh-huh.
So this thing would fly over whatever area the government wanted it to and take pictures of it. And it had 4 film buckets on it, which were big packets that held about 70,000 feet of film each.
Oh, wow.
And what they would do, at this time, we were working up to the United States was working up in the SALT talks, the Strategic Arms Limitation talks. And they needed information of the Soviet Union. And
right.
This thing flew from west to east over the Soviet Union. And the first one, the first film pack came back in early 1971.
So the film would be ejected?
It would be ejected from the satellite. When it came into the atmosphere, a parachute would open, and then this thing would float down, and the Air Force would come along with a big airplane that had, I think it was a C-130, had a hook thing on it that grabbed the parachute, and they reeled it in.
Uh-huh.
Well, the first one came back, and it was successful, except that there was a slight failure of the parachute mechanism on it, but they were able to recover the film with no problem. And they were ecstatic with the information they get. There was more information than they thought they would get from it.
The quality of the pictures at that time pretty good.
Yeah.
I mean, you could still see everything.
Yeah, you could. They say you could read a license plate.
Wow.
From space.
And that was in when? The
1971.
71?
Yeah. So the second one came down a couple months later, and it was not. Once again, the parachute semi-failed, but they were able to get information back. Well, the third one, the third bucket, they had flown from the west coast of Russia, the Soviet Union, Vladivostok, all the way across the Soviet Union and through Albania. And it was one of those, the flight that it took was one of those periods of time when the atmosphere was clear, there were no clouds, it was perfect.
Yeah.
And so they knew that they had some good they could see everything that they needed to see. And they knew that it was going to be great information they were going to get. Well, when this satellite came in, it entered the atmosphere, and the parachute failed immediately. Just as it entered the atmosphere, the parachute failed, and the capsule went at full speed and hit the surface of the ocean. We couldn't capture it.
Right.
There was no parachute on it. They couldn't capture it. Hit the surface of the ocean and went and sank immediately to 16,400 feet.
Jeez.
Well, at the time, there was only one vessel that could pick anything up from that deep, and that was the Trieste. And we were in training for some other stuff at that time, the summer of 1971. And got a call from higher-ups in the Navy and said, you're going to go pick up this object. And we, as the crew, knew, well, we were briefed, but we were briefed that we were picking up something.
Just something.
Well, it was we knew it was a satellite.
So you had some information that the public did not receive until later.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
40 years later.
Right.
Yeah. So they told us we're going to go pick up this satellite. And we're thinking, you remember what Sputnik looked like?
Yeah, a little ball
with antenna. That's what we all thought about. Well, the Air Force brought a dummy satellite in for us, and it didn't look like that at all. It looked kind of like I don't know. Do you know what the pellets in a pellet gun look like?
Yeah, they got kind of a flat front and a little arrow back.
Well, the round ones.
Yeah.
That's what that's kind of what it looked like.
Okay.
Anyway, except it was about 5 feet in diameter.
Wow.
And 4 feet thick and weighed about a ton.
Were you prepared? Was your vessel prepared to pick up something like this?
No, we had never done anything like that. So they brought in an engineer who designed we called it a kludge, like a thing like a hay hook that would pick this object up, and we had it made there in San Diego at the Naval Electronics Laboratory shops, and we tested it using a crane and 55-gallon drums full of sand and that sort of thing, all in about a 1-month period.
Wow.
And put it on the Trieste, and long story, we trained in the Southern California area and finally got out of there in the early fall of 1971.
Did you have a timeline? Did the government say we need this information by a certain time?
I don't know the end date, but they said we need it now.
Sure.
Is what we need. And this thing went down, 400 miles northwest of Hawaii is where it was, in 16,000 feet of water, 16,400 feet of water. So we got on our way and got out there. Finally got there in the fall of 1971, made one dive down to 16,000 feet. Didn't find anything. I mean, there were some sonar contacts, but it was nothing that, and in the meantime, Scripps Institute of Oceanography, the Marine Physical Laboratory, which was run by the Navy, had been out searching for this object, and they found what they thought was the object and had pictures of it. And so we had a picture of this thing. And they had marked the area where the object was, the satellite was, with things called deep ocean transponders, which are the equipments that mark the area to give you a range and bearing to where you are to the object. Anyway, so the area was marked with these dots, 3 of them. We got down on the bottom, started searching around and trying to navigate using the dots, and just nothing was happening. Finally, we ran out of battery and battery life and had to go back to the surface. Went to the surface and started looking at what had happened, and it turns out that the written position of 2 of the dots had been reversed.
Oh, no.
So we were searching 2,300 yards away from where we should have been. And in a vessel like Trieste that, only can do about 1.5 knots, that's a long ways away.
Yeah. So
we corrected that and did some other mechanical repairs to Trieste, and finally, once again, by this time it was early November, and it's getting to be winter time, so we had a dive and got down on the bottom, and right away we were in a debris field. There was junk all around. You could see it, little pieces of things, and about 3/4 hour or so, we found an object, this huge thing.
Yeah.
And it was, once again, it didn't look like what we had practiced with, the dummy one that we had.
I'm sure.
But it turned out what it was the film pack itself, the film reel itself.
And that's what you needed.
And that's what we needed. And the force of the impact when it hit the surface of the ocean was so great that it shattered the housing that it was in, the satellite housing it was in. So this thing had fallen out. So this is on the second dive. We found this thing, maneuvered to pick it up, ran out of battery life once again.
Oh my gosh.
We were running out. In fact, we'd reversed 3 cells on our battery, which is not a good thing. I tried to pick it up, and then so we thought, okay, well, we'll release a mini dot, which is a little deep ocean transponder, to mark the spot, and we'll come back the next time and pick it up. But to release the mini dot, you had to use the mechanical arm. Go over and pull a latch with it. Well, the mechanical arm wouldn't work at 16,400 feet. Would not work. So that by then it was too late. We had to surface, and we went back. And so it was wintertime coming in. It was the end of November now, and the Christmas holidays were coming, and the weather off in the northern Pacific is not all that good at that period of time. So we had, the next time we got out was in April, first part of April.
Oh, wow. That's a long time.
Long time. But in the meantime, we had done a lot of work.
Sure.
And
you were ready.
Fixed some stuff so that we didn't need to use the mechanical arm for anything, so that the hay hook or kludge could pick up the object. And we got down on the bottom, and in the end, we found it, picked it up.
My gosh.
And when we picked it up, it was we had to sit there and wait for all the silt to clear to make sure that we had it, because once you touch something on the bottom, the silt all stirs up and you can't see anything. So we started on the way back up, and at about a depth of about 2,000 feet, I was watching out the window. I could see little silver flakes falling down from the satellite. And it turns out what it was pieces of the film breaking up.
Oh, whoa.
And so I called the surface and said, you got to have the divers ready to get this thing, because when we get there, it's breaking up.
Yeah.
And so we got to the surface, and it was just falling apart. Literally falling apart. Looked like silver flakes of snowfall falling down.
And I'm sure you're going, we just spent the last...
You spent 9 months of our lives looking for this thing. And the biggest piece that I saw was about, 6-7 feet long strip of film that one of the divers had. So I thought that, it was all over, that we had failed. And it was classified.
Sure.
It was classified higher than secret. So we couldn't talk about it. The cover story that we used was that we recovered an equipment package that belonged to the Marine Physical Laboratory. And since they'd been out there searching for it with their survey ship, it fit right in.
Yeah, it makes sense.
So that's what the cover story was for 40 years.
Oh, my gosh. So now we are wrapping up a series on CNN called Declassified, where they take these documents that are recently declassified after 40 years, and this is the final story of this
final series final program.
So that's got to be exciting for you. So when you went up to Bremerton, that's where a copy of is the actual bathoscope up there now?
Yeah, the bathoscope's there in the parking lot.
That's got to be something.
Yeah. I got called in September of 2012.
Okay.
The guy says, "Hi, I'm David Waltrip from the CIA." And I said, "Sure you are."
Sure, yeah.
So we talked a bit and I did some checking, and he really was. He was the guy that was responsible for declassifying information for the CIA. And he had written an article on this recovery and had it declassified, and he wanted to expand on it, and so that's how it all got started being declassified.
Oh my gosh!
It was 2012, but it was 42 years.
That's amazing.
That it was classified.
What an amazing story. So this weekend we're going to get a chance to see this, right?
Yep.
What do we have?
I just want to, we really didn't think we had, we thought we'd failed because we didn't bring back the information.
Sure.
But this was from the Secretary, no, it wasn't the Secretary of the Navy. It was, I don't know, one of the high-ranking guys in the CIA. He said the Hexagon capsule recovery ranks with the top of bold operations undertaken in intelligence undersea exploration history. Although the film stack slipped from our fingers at the last moment, it was the world's deepest successful salvage up until that point. Accomplished against staggering environmental and technical odds, a strikingly brief reference in the White Sands, so that was our support ship, says that The period from 2 August through the end of the year was occupied by a major effort in preparing and conducting the deepest salvage discovery operation ever attempted by man.
My gosh.
The Chief of Naval Operations, Admiral Zumwalt, presented the Integral Operating Unit, which was the Trieste, our support ship White Sands, and a fleet tug, the Apache, with a meritorious unit commendation for this singularly significant achievement, which provided the United States Navy with the capability to conduct deep ocean search, location, and object recovery operations in 80% of the oceans of the Earth.
I'm on CNN right now looking at this. Better than Google Earth, they say. Sunday at 10, U.S. spies had their own kind of Google Earth decades before, and this spy device responsible for preventing World War III. Dick Taylor, that is an amazing story, and I look forward to hearing it and watching it this Sunday at 10. And then, well, you're coming back tomorrow, too, for Port of Call. We'll remind folks again.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
This is a great story. Thank you for coming on.
Well, my pleasure.
And we'll talk again real soon.
Okay.
Thanks, Dick. It's 8:36 now at iFiber One News Radio. Now to check the morning stock numbers. Let's say good morning.
Good morning, Jeff.
Hi, Sherry. How are you?
Well, good. What an amazing story.
Oh, my gosh. Isn't that something else? I tell you.